It's like you're like the last Japanese soldier on Okinawa. You think the war's still going. No, it didn't save millions of lives. It's hilarious. Sorry, I'm sorry. I'm being boorish.
I just love that so much. I love it because he's correct. They sound like droids. They all say the exact same thing. There is no independence in the media. It is just a carbon copy. And they all pretend it's going to be a hard-hitting question. How predictable? You're going to ask him about Putin because how dare a journalist without the authority of corporate media go out to interview Putin without saying all of the things that the corporate media would like suggested about Putin because they are just itching to go to war with him. And as I said yesterday, I'm just not biting on this propaganda.
The other day, Tucker Carlson went absolutely viral for destroying a couple of members of the Australian mainstream media and also destroying people such as Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire and the neocons within America who want to give our money away just willy-nilly to all these foreign entities. He destroyed them all for calling Tucker Carlson a conspiracy theorist, for calling people like Candace Owens a conspiracy theorist, for calling people like me and you probably a conspiracy theorist for simply asking questions about certain things. And in this video, Candace Owens reacts to Tucker Carlson destroying Ben Shapiro and gives great commentary and great insights into things that I didn't even know about and you probably don't know about either. Let's check this out. Let's check out Candace Owens reacting to Tucker Carlson tearing down not just the Australian press, but also Ben Shapiro, the Daily Wire, and the people within America that don't want you asking questions about America's past, present, or future. Let's check this out.
Speaking of the mainstream media, Tucker has just been an absolute joy. Everybody knows I am a Tucker Carlson stan. I make no apologies for that. There is so much synergy between me and Tucker Carlson. And like I said, there's just so few people in media that I actually look up to. And when we sort of watched what Fox News did to them, and like I've said, Fox News has always been good to me, but I think we all felt the same way about what they did to their lead talent. And we all felt that we had developed this relationship with him as somebody that we could actually trust that was still a part of the corporate media apparatus. And so to see him out there and selling out stadiums all across the world and to see the success that he has had independently is tremendously inspiring to me. And then, of course, seeing this, again, he's down under. And as is to be expected, he is dealing with reporters who are trying to get him in a gotcha moment, one reporter after the other. And it just becomes apparent that Tucker has had enough of their questions that are just so evident. You know, they're just so, it's so evident who they work for. And a ton of people were asking him about Putin. And here's what Tucker said in response. Here's a quick clip of that.
My question on Putin.
Putin!
I think you did strategically because you knew it's what we'd ask.
Putin! He's so bad!
And I also appreciate that.
Did he make you take the COVID shot?
Take the what?
The COVID shot? No, he didn't.
I love the way that Tucker is so playful about it now. Like, he's not even getting mad at these people anymore. He's just like, because at this point, we've let all these situations play out to the point where we know who is in the right and who is in the wrong. And it's very obvious that Tucker Carlson, on 99% of the stuff that he claimed, I won't say 100% because somebody going to be in the comments like, well, actually, Tucker Carlson said this and it didn't come true. So I'll just say 99% so I don't have to deal with those idiots in the comments on the things that he claimed and the things that basically everybody was saying. And so now it's just like, haha, you lost. Like, we're not even mad anymore. Like, we won. There's nothing you can say. Just look at how the situations played out. It's no more a hypothetical. It's no more theoreticals. Just look at how these situations all played out. We won. You're dumb. You look like idiots. And you're still trying to push this dumbass narrative. Probably because you're getting paid to. Not because you're actually that dumb, but because you're getting paid to do it.
Sorry.
The COVID shot saved probably tens of millions.
Oh, yeah, and definitely. Safe and effective. This is why everyone loves the media.
Probably 100 times more lives than Putin has killed in Ukraine.
It's like a time capsule. It's like you're like the last Japanese soldier on Okinawa. You think the war's still going. No, it didn't save millions of lives. It's hilarious. Sorry, I'm sorry. I'm being boorish.
I just love that so much. I love it because he's correct. They sound like droids. They all say the exact same thing. There is no independence in the media. It is just a carbon copy. And they all pretend it's going to be a hard-hitting question. How predictable? You're going to ask him about Putin because how dare a journalist? If
you enjoy content like this, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. It really does help me out a ton. Let's get back to the video.
Without the authority of corporate media go out to interview Putin without saying all of the things that the corporate media would like suggested about Putin because they are just itching to go to war with him. And as I said yesterday, I'm just not biting on this propaganda. I'm sorry. I am not here for another Christian country to be taken down and flooded with migrants, because that's what they do. They flood.
And if you look at the left, if you look at the mainstream media, they do sound like drones. They do sound like robots. They all say the same thing. They all have the same talking points. They all, talk about the same statistics, say the same exact things, right? Like everything that you ask, they always have the same exact statistics that they pull from. They always say the same numbers. And it's interesting because if you look at the mainstream media, the left, they always say the same thing. They all sound like robots. Look at the right. We're very, very divided. Like we have extremely different opinions, like so much so to the point where we have Candace Owens getting fired from the Daily Wire for going against something that's happening over in the Middle East. We have the Middle East war in itself has divided the right in a way that the left is never divided, not because there's some like crazy, like stuck together, close knit group, but because they don't have any real opinions of their own. They're just shouting and uttering the same talking points from the software update that they got back in 2016, and it never changed, it never updated. They never got a software update since then. So they're just saying the same things over and over and taking to the new extreme every single chance that they get. And yes, sometimes individuals will break off and get canceled. We have people like Joe Rogan who broke off from the left. People like Russell Brand broke off from the left. People like Anna Kasparian is kind of breaking off from the left. So it happens, but it's not like a fracture in the left. That never really happens because it's not possible, because they don't have their own opinions. Whereas people on the right, there's different factions within the right, as I'm sure there's kind of that within the left, but not as much, not as exaggerated as it is on the right, to where there's a whole faction of people that are on Candace Owens' side, and Candace Owens' side is so opposite to what other people on the right are thinking that she got fired from her job because her opinion was so opposite from what other people on the right were thinking. Like the flagship right-wing network, the Daily Wire, fired Candace Owens for opinions that aren't not right-wing. They are still right-wing. They're still conservative. Like Candace Owens is still a conservative, but they're so opposite from what she thinks that she got fired. And there's a ton of people who think the same way as them. Basically, what I'm saying is a lot of people, I'm not going to say everybody, because there's definitely people who are drones on the right. There's no doubt about it. But the right definitely has a lot more leeway and free thinking than the left does, and then the mainstream media does. It's just another interesting thing to think about. I like pointing out those interesting things where it's like, why is the left and the mainstream media always saying the same exact things like robots? And whereas we have on the right, we have all this division and fractures happening with large groups of people within the right wing, it's probably because the right wing is actually able to have free speech and marketplace of ideas, and the left shuts that down every single time it exists even a little bit.
These countries with migrants, and then they render these countries completely subjugated. People become impoverished. The countries don't look like those countries anymore. I mean, literally, you can go through the cities, some cities in America, and how dilapidated are they? And then you go to Russia, and as Tucker demonstrated, you have a faithful country. You have a country that has clean subways. You have a country that actually is doing, despite the media telling us otherwise, has been doing well economically, that is standing independent from the globalist cabal that we are facing here today that keeps trying to convince us that we need to look around us, see filth, and smile. Learn to love your surroundings. Smile. Learn to love it. It's going to be so great. And yes, they are intentionally flooding these countries with migrants. It is.
And people are scared to accept that. They're scared to say, hey, maybe like a democratic republic and capitalism. Yes, this might be like our favored way. Like maybe this is the way that you would choose. It's the way that I would choose. That's the government and economic type, whatever you want to call it, that I would choose. If I had to choose any country out there, it would be the archetype that America is. But we've been told our entire life that basically every single other type of government and economy is evil, and it's the enemy. And since we're the good guys, we must go in there and we must change the fact that they have some dictatorships out there or monarchies out there. I guess we didn't really go after like the monarchies, but the dictatorships out there. We must change that. We must take them down and turn them into what America is, because America is the best. America is so great. And I'm not saying that it's not. America is great, and like I said, I wouldn't choose to have it any other way in terms of the archetype of America. The execution, not too great, the last few years, but the archetype is probably the best one out of all of them. But that doesn't mean that other types can't work, right? And Tucker Carlson is kind of exposing that, and that's where a lot of people are angry at him for doing that, because he's going to these other countries or going to Russia And they're supposed to be like this rundown, like ghost town of a country because they have this evil dictator, Vladimir Putin, who just is blood hungry and he just wants to go conquer the world. It's like, in reality, yes, Putin has done bad things, of course, as have every single president of the United States have done bad things. But the country is not as bad as everybody claims it to be. It's just not, and the journalists that go expose that are normally excommunicated. They're normally targeted by the government because the government doesn't want you exposing that. And not just the government, but higher than the US government. Those people don't want you exposing that other types of government can work. They don't want you saying those types of things. And that's why we're brainwashed our entire life to think those types of governments are evil.
So evident that they are doing this intentionally. They do not want us to have any identity. Ultimately, their goal is human enslavement. They want us to be happy slaves. And so it just brings me so much pleasure when you see people like Tucker calling them out on that. And just on time, another reporter, brave reporter, journalist, stepped to the plate to ask Tucker about his, idea of white replacement, quote unquote, white replacement. Take a listen.
So you talked a little bit about immigration, and in the past you've talked about how white Australians, Americans, Europeans are being replaced by non-white immigrants in what is often referred to as the Great Replacement Theory. This is the same...
Have I said that whites are being replaced?
Well...
I don't think I said that.
Well, it's been mentioned on your show 4,000 times. And
really, when did I say that?
On your show...
I said whites are being replaced?
You have said that before.
Really?
Yeah.
I would challenge you to cite that because I'm pretty sure I haven't said that. I said native-born Americans are being replaced, including blacks.
Native-born Americans.
Native-born Americans.
And
Americans black Americans have been, African Americans have been in the United States for, in many cases, their families over 400 years. And their concerns are every bit as real and valid and alive to me as the concerns of white people whose families have been there 400 years. My concern is that the people who are born in the country are the main responsibility of its leaders. And as noted earlier, when those leaders shift their concern from the people whose responsibility it is to take care of to people around the world to put their priorities above that of their own citizens, that's immoral. And they are being replaced in my country, people who are born in the United States. And the birth rate tells the whole story. They are not at replacement rate. And so the US population is growing because we're importing people from other countries. And my view is that happy people have children, and a functioning economy allows them to do that. And we don't have that. And so you need to fix the economy and fix the culture and make it so that people who want to have kids can. You don't just go for the quick sugar fix of importing new people. Like, that's my position. And if you think that's racist, that's your problem.
Yeah, and it is absolutely true. They are replacing our culture, this whole concept of multiculturalism, and this is what the journalists do. If you're starting to notice that you don't recognize your surroundings, maybe you're in the UK, maybe you're growing up in England and you're going, hey, I don't recognize this place. This is what the culture has completely changed. Maybe you're growing up in America and you're going, hey, this is not the America that I remember. I say that now, having grown up in the 90s. This is not the America that I remember. I walk down the streets or drive down the streets rather where I grew up, and everything looks like we're becoming a impoverished country. You can't even get roads paved. But if you notice it, if you begin to voice those concerns that something evil is going on, obviously, then you get called a racist. Oh, you just don't want migrants flooded into your country. It's because you're a racist. Yeah, that is the slave owners trying to convince their slaves not to believe that they are slaves, not to believe that they are being used like cattle, right? They are essentially...
I really appreciate Candace and Tucker calling out the real problems in the country and in the world, because this is not just happening in the United States. It's happening in the UK. It's happening so many other places. And a lot of people, and including myself, we always say, oh yeah, shut down foreign aid. We need to focus on the border and crime and all these cities going downhill in the United States. Why are we focused so much on Ukraine and the country that Ben Shapiro loves so much in the Middle East? And it's true. And that's a very easy talking point. It's a very easy, it's easy to agree with. Yes, of course we should shut down foreign aid and focus on what's happening in the US, focus on those problems. Yeah, it's true. And it's very easy to agree with, right? It's good engagement bait because everybody can agree with that has common sense in their brain. The problem with that is it's easy to say, but at the same time, it's realistically not going to work. And here's why it's not going to work. All of those issues, those problems that you say we should stop foreign aid and start putting money into our country to fix, the current regime of the United States and of the world government that is trying to form, they don't view those things as problems. Donald Trump might view those things as problems. Maybe Vivek Ramaswamy views those things as problems. The people who are establishment, sold out to the establishment, sold out to foreign entities, sold out to the WEF, whatever, people who are sold out, which is most of the people who run for these positions that actually make these decisions, they don't view these things as problems. They don't view the immigration problem as a problem. It's a solution. It's furthering their agenda. They don't view the crime rate going up as a problem. It's a solution. They don't view what Tucker Carlson was talking about right there in, the replacement rates of people actually having kids, the birth rates of people who are born in America. They don't view that as going down as a problem. It's a solution. That is exactly what they want. They are getting everything that they want right now. So why the hell would they change? Yes, it's easy to say and it's easy to agree with. We should shut down foreign aid and focus on the problems that's happening within the US. But we need people like Tucker Carlson and like Candace Owens who are not scared, like Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire are, to call out what's really happening. Because it's not based anymore to say, shut down foreign aid and just focus on what's happening, the problems in America. Yeah, obviously, idiot. But they don't view these things as problems. The real problem is, the real solution, I should say, is forcing these people to accept the real issues and real problems as actual problems. Because right now, everything that we're complaining about is a solution to them. So shout out to Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson for calling out people who need to be called out. People like Ben Shapiro, they need to be called out because they're part of the problem. And right now, we can't afford to have anybody who has that big of a voice be that big of a problem right now. You just can't. So shout out to Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens. Let me know in the comments what you thought of Tucker Carlson's appearance on that in that interview. It was great. I mean, he just absolutely knocked it out of the park. And I thought Candace Owens added some really great insight as well to the whole thing. Let me know in the comments what you're thinking about this whole Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, and Ben Shapiro situation.